Hello, Radiant Leo. What if I told you that something powerful is about to break through in your life? That the very moment you've been preparing for, even without knowing it, is now unfolding? This video isn't just a forecast. It's a message you were meant to hear. Because your big break is coming, and the energy around you is shifting fast. You didn't land here by accident. In fact, I believe with all my heart that the universe has drawn you here at this exact moment for a reason that will soon become crystal clear. Something in your spirit has been asking for a sign, for guidance, for reassurance. And today, Leo, that sign arrives. On June 24th, a rare cosmic pattern activates around your sign, unlocking a powerful window of opportunity. This could come as a bold decision, an unexpected message, or a moment of clarity so sharp it changes your trajectory. Whatever form it takes, know this: you're standing at the threshold of a new timeline. And you get to choose how you cross it. Leo, you've carried so much. You've held your ground through storms, stayed strong when others leaned on you, and fought through inner doubts no one ever saw. But now, the energy is different. Something is lifting. There's a new light ahead, and it's not just hope. It's momentum. It's alignment. It's your breakthrough finally coming into view. I want to take a moment to thank you deeply for being here. Every like, every comment you share, every time you hit subscribe, brings you deeper into our soul family here at Eternal Mindfulness. Your presence matters. Your energy uplifts this space. And your support is what allows messages like this one to reach those who truly need it. So thank you, from the bottom of my heart. And believe me, my dear Leo, you will want to stay until the very end of this reading. Because what the universe is revealing for you today is nothing short of remarkable. A transformation has been in motion behind the scenes, and now it's ready to take form in your hands, in your heart, and in your destiny. So let me ask you, what led you here today? What part of your soul called out and asked for something more clarity, more purpose, more magic? If this message is already speaking to you, don't scroll past. Take a moment now and leave a comment below saying, "I'm ready for my big break." When you speak it, you claim it. And the universe listens. Get comfortable. Take a deep breath. And allow yourself to receive what's waiting for you. Because this isn't just a horoscope, this is the beginning of something real. Let's begin. Sometimes, Leo, the universe does not roar when it is about to change your life, it whispers through weariness. The Ten of Wands speaks of a burden, one you've carried not for days or weeks, but perhaps for seasons of your life. This is not just about hard work or physical strain, it's emotional weight, spiritual fatigue, and the invisible expectations that have quietly gathered on your shoulders. And yet, here you are, still walking, still holding it all together. But now, something is shifting. You're not meant to carry it all anymore. The end of this cycle is near, and not as a collapse, but as a conscious release. That's where transformation begins. The energy of June 24th brings a pivotal turn. With a full moon illuminating hidden truths and Uranus, the planet of radical change, stirring unpredictability in the skies, you're standing at the very edge of a karmic threshold. What you've been enduring is not in vain, it has carved resilience into your spirit. And now, the same cosmic pressure that tested your strength is making space for something to break through. Breakthroughs don't always come with fireworks. Sometimes, they come in a quiet decision to finally put something down, an old belief, a toxic pattern, a way of living that no longer reflects who you're becoming. The presence of the Death card doesn't predict loss, it affirms rebirth. Just as the trees must shed their leaves to make way for new life, so too must you let go of what no longer nourishes your growth. There is wisdom in endings. Not all closures are tragedies, many are blessings wearing the disguise of difficulty. When we stop clinging to what was, we allow what can be to emerge. It's in that soft, almost imperceptible pause, like the silence between breaths, that your new chapter gathers power. From a cosmic perspective, the number 10 represents completion. A cycle has served its purpose. The number 13, often misunderstood, is the sacred number of transformation. It is not misfortune, it is transition. And when these numbers appear together, they invite you to cross the inner threshold from surviving to living, from enduring to expanding. In practical terms, now is the moment to pause and reflect with deep compassion for yourself. Take out a journal and ask, what have I learned from the weight I've carried? Who am I now that I wasn't before? This isn't about shaming the past or regretting what you've held on to, it's about honoring the strength it took to survive, and choosing to channel that strength into something more aligned with who you're becoming. Write down 3 habits you know it's time to release. They don't have to be grand. It could be as simple as speaking more kindly to yourself, setting firmer boundaries, or letting go of the need to always be on. There is a teaching in ancient wisdom that reminds us, suffering often begins when we resist the natural flow of change. Like a river pressing against rocks, we create internal tension by refusing to let go. But when we soften, when we allow the current to carry us even for just a moment, we find peace not through control but through presence. That is the secret doorway to the next version of you. To support this process, engage your senses intentionally. Wear colors like burnt orange and deep earth brown tones that mirror fire meeting ground, transformation meeting root. Let these colors remind you of where you come from and where you're headed, rooted but not stuck, powerful yet still evolving. This phase you're in, Leo, is not punishment, it is preparation. And the heaviness you feel is not weakness, it's the final stretch before the release. Trust that the ending is not your enemy. It is your turning point. Let go, just enough, so that what's meant to rise can finally lift. When life feels uncertain, Leo, it's easy to believe that things are simply happening to you, that fate is moving the pieces while you stand still. But the energy surrounding you right now is here to remind you of something much deeper, much more empowering. You still have a choice. Even in the midst of pressure, confusion, or emotional exhaustion, you are never powerless. The combination of the Justice card, the World, and the Knight of Swords paints a powerful picture, one of decisive energy, karmic accountability, and the culmination of a long journey that now asks for your conscious participation. This isn't a time to drift. It's a time to direct. Choice, in its highest form, is an act of awareness. It's not about having full control over what happens, that's never promised. But you can choose how you respond. You can choose where to focus, what to carry, and what to release. And every small decision, even the ones that seem trivial, shapes the direction of your reality. One sentence spoken in courage, one boundary drawn in love, one opportunity accepted with a full heart, these are the pivots that rewrite timelines. The moment you recognize that your reality is a mirror of what you continuously choose, you begin to understand your own power. Astrologically, the energy on June 24th is not passive. With celestial alignments pushing emotional truths to the surface and mental clarity into the foreground, you may find yourself at a threshold moment, a crossroads. The question isn't whether you're ready. The real question is, what will you choose when clarity finally arrives? It might come in the form of a job opportunity, a conversation you've been postponing, a move you've been resisting, or simply the inner resolve to finally stop living halfway. No matter how it shows up, the energy is asking for you to commit, to take action, to become an active author of your own next chapter. There's a quiet teaching in ancient philosophy that says, we are not bound by our circumstances, but by our reactions to them. In other words, two people can face the same storm, yet come out changed in completely different ways. The one who chooses to lean into the wind, to anchor in presence rather than panic, that person transforms the storm itself into a kind of training ground. This is what the Knight of Swords represents for you now, a call to move with clarity, not recklessness, to make decisions from your center, not from fear. One helpful practice is to pause today and write down 3 things in your life you know are ready to shift. These don't need to be dramatic. Sometimes, the most impactful choices begin subtly, like deciding to speak truthfully in a space where you've stayed quiet, or choosing to spend 10 minutes a day in stillness instead of scrolling through noise. These actions become seeds. And as you water them daily, they begin to reshape your outer world in surprising ways. Wearing or surrounding yourself with the color teal or deep aqua can help calm mental noise while sharpening your sense of inner alignment. These tones carry a cooling, clarifying vibration. They remind you to breathe, to see clearly, and to stay connected with what's truly right for you. Clarity is not always about having all the answers. More often, it's about knowing which path feels true, even if you can't yet see the destination. What's beautiful about this moment, Leo, is that it doesn't ask for perfection. It only asks for presence. And the willingness to make one conscious choice at a time, with heart, with courage, with sincerity. Each choice is a ripple. And one of them, maybe even the one you make today, will shift the entire current of your life. Healing rarely comes in a straight line, Leo. Sometimes it arrives like a soft wave that brushes past your heart, and other times it feels like a quiet ache that asks to be noticed again. With the presence of the 3 of Swords in your current energy, we can't ignore what's still tender: the echoes of a relationship that ended, the silence that followed a connection once loud with laughter, or even the emotional residue of a bond that slowly unraveled over time. And yet, what's beautiful about this moment is that the sorrow does not define you. It only reveals where your heart is still learning how to stay open without breaking. You are not broken. You are still becoming. The Ace of Cups arrives here not to erase what's been, but to remind you of what's always possible: renewal, receptivity, emotional rebirth. When the heart cracks open, it becomes more spacious, more ready. The ache becomes the invitation. The tear becomes the doorway. And love, not just romantic love, but the kind of connection that sees you and nourishes you, begins to ripple its way back into your field. This love may arrive as a person, yes. But more importantly, it begins within you. A love that no longer needs to prove or perform. A love that can simply be calm, steady, grounded. Temperance gently supports this process. It speaks to the balance of emotion and patience, of allowing things to unfold without force. The old way may have rushed, overreached, or clung too tightly. But this time, something more sacred is forming. It asks you to tend to yourself with the same softness you wish to receive from others. There's a quiet lesson here: if we don't slow down and sit with the heart, we often repeat patterns rather than heal them. In healing, time isn't the only factor, presence is. To be with your own emotion without resistance is a kind of mastery few people dare to practice, yet it is the first step in creating something honest and lasting. You might find it helpful now to write a letter, not to send, but to express. Address it to your past. To the person who left, or to the part of yourself that once stayed too long. Write it all, without judgment. Say what wasn't said. Honor the truth. Then, if you feel ready, let it go. Burn it. Bury it. Or simply close the notebook and exhale. That small ritual isn't about forgetting. It's about freeing space within you for something new to arrive. From the perspective of embodied awareness, healing is the process of realigning heart, mind, and body. That's the sacred vibration of the number 3 integration. It's when your thoughts no longer fight your feelings, and your body no longer holds the past in tension. It's when you cry and feel no shame. When you smile and mean it. When you trust yourself enough to believe that love can come again, and this time, without the weight of old wounds steering the way. As a physical anchor to this energy, consider surrounding yourself with soft colors like pastel pink or warm white. These tones carry the frequency of openness and vulnerability. They soothe the nervous system and remind your body that it's safe to feel. A warm bath with Epsom salt and rose oil can do more than just relax your muscles. It can invite you to symbolically return to yourself, to be held, even if just by water and breath. There's a quiet wisdom often taught through direct experience, that the heart is not meant to avoid pain, it's meant to stay awake through it. Not all endings are failures. Some are doorways. And you, Leo, are now standing in the in-between, the sacred space where one chapter softens and another gently begins. Stay present. Stay tender. And let love, in whatever form it chooses, find you where you are. There is a moment, Leo, when the weight begins to lift, not because the world outside you has changed, but because something within you has quietly decided to rise. The presence of the Strength card in this phase is not about brute force or endurance. It's about something far more refined, the kind of strength that is steady, aware, and rooted in self-respect. It's the strength that smiles through uncertainty, the kind that doesn't need to prove itself to anyone, because it already knows its worth. This is your reminder that even when everything has felt too heavy to carry, even when your fire seemed dimmed, you were never truly extinguished. You were simply gathering yourself for a different kind of ignition. The Fool enters next, not as a sign of naivety but as the invitation to begin again, not from zero, but from wisdom. Starting over does not mean you have failed. It means you are awake. It means you are brave enough to walk a path without guarantees, trusting that what calls you forward is more important than what once held you back. It means allowing yourself to be new again, without carrying the dust of old expectations into a fresh beginning. The energy of the Fool is liberating because it brings with it the spirit of non-attachment, the ability to move forward without clinging to past narratives or future fears. Just one breath, one step, and you're already on your way. The star reminds you that you're not just walking, you're being guided. And more than that, you are becoming a guide, a light for others who have yet to rise. The healing you've done is not isolated to you alone, it radiates outward. The more you trust your own light, the more others remember their own. You may not even realize how deeply your quiet courage inspires the people around you. Hope, in this context, is not a passive wish. It is a discipline. It is choosing to align with your values, to believe in possibilities even when the past has taught you otherwise. In this sense, hope becomes a path, not an escape. And then comes the Six of Wands, not as the end point, but as a confirmation you are being seen. Not for who you tried to be, but for who you truly are. The recognition that's arriving now is not applause for perfection, but acknowledgement of persistence, of evolution, of how far you've come, even when no one was watching. The victory symbolized here isn't just about the external, it's about the internal alignment that makes sustainable success possible. Because real success is not measured by what you gain, but by how closely your life reflects who you really are. From a practical perspective, this is an ideal moment to reignite rituals that nourish your inner fire. Rise with the sun if you can. Move your body before your mind gets too loud. Eat foods that feel like fuel, not distraction. If your energy has felt scattered, sound frequencies like 432 Hz or gentle meditative music can help recenter your nervous system and remind your cells what peace feels like. These small acts of care are not merely lifestyle changes. They are declarations. Each one says, I remember who I am. I honor where I'm going. Even in contemplative teachings, there's an understanding that the mind, when still and clear, reflects truth like a quiet lake. But that stillness takes effort. That truth must be chosen. It must be remembered, again and again. And so this part of your journey is not about chasing the next big thing. It's about choosing, in every breath, to remain faithful to your light, especially when the world gives you every reason to doubt it. You are not here to be hidden. You are here to shine with wisdom, with clarity, with the fire of someone who knows how to begin again, not because they had to, but because they were brave enough to want more. Let this be your moment to step forward without apology. Let your life mirror the truth of your soul. And if your heart is already whispering yes, write it into the world. I am ready to step into the most radiant era of my life. The universe is already listening. Every journey reaches a point where the signs become too clear to ignore. The patterns you've seen, the lessons you've endured, the repeated emotions that have surfaced, none of it is random. When astrology aligns with the symbols of the tarot, and when your own intuition quietly nods in recognition, that is the moment to pause and truly look inward. You've reached a space where awareness is no longer enough. It's time to decide. Astrology opens the door by showing you when cosmic forces are most supportive of change. The planetary alignments around you right now are not just passing events theory invitations. They suggest timing, mood, and momentum. But the truth is, even with the universe aligning in your favor, nothing happens unless you choose. Tarot lays out the energetic landscape, revealing what you might encounter, what you're holding, and what's possible if you step forward. The law of attraction responds to your belief and your behavior. And yet, none of these systems, no card, no star, no frequency can live your life for you. That responsibility, and that power rests only in your hands. When everything converges your awareness, your readiness, the right timing, there is only one thing left to do: make a conscious choice. Not the kind born out of fear or habit, but the kind that stems from clarity. Sometimes, it doesn't need to be a dramatic action. It can be a gentle but firm decision within: I will no longer carry this version of myself forward. And just like that, a new timeline is activated. Not because of magic, but because you chose something different with full awareness. In ancient teachings, there's a quiet principle that change happens not through pressure, but through insight. When you see clearly, you act differently. A single moment of clarity can shift the direction of an entire life. That's what this part of your journey is offering you now. You are standing at a threshold, and while there may be no trumpet to announce it, the depth of your inner knowing already senses it. So ask yourself gently, if today is the turning point, what would I choose to do differently? Not from a place of proving something, but from the deep center of your being that is tired of repeating what no longer fits. The numerology of this period also holds meaning. The total sum 13/4 is the meeting point of transformation and structure. 13 is the number of death and rebirth, of necessary endings that lead to long-term freedom. 4 is the builder's number. It reminds us that after releasing the old, something more stable and aligned must be created. This combination doesn't only ask for change, it asks for commitment. What are you willing to dedicate yourself to, now that you know what you don't want? There is no ideal condition that guarantees you'll feel completely ready. Most breakthroughs happen when we move while still unsure. But when that movement is intentional, even a small step creates a ripple. You might not see the full impact right away, but that's the nature of deep change. It often begins quietly, almost invisibly. And then, weeks or months later, you find yourself living in a space that reflects that one brave decision you made long ago. The world around you will always offer distractions, doubts, and reasons to wait. But the internal world, the space of deep stillness and knowing, remains your truest compass. Listen there. When you hear the answer, don't hesitate to follow it. Because the most defining moments in life don't always arrive with certainty. They arrive with opportunity. And you, Leo, are in one now. If you're still here with me, Leo, still listening, still breathing into these words, then some part of your heart already knows it's time. Not just time to think about change, not just time to dream of a different future, but time to say yes to the moment that's been quietly calling your name. You didn't land here by accident. You've walked through cycles of effort, of growth, of letting go, and now you're standing at the edge of something entirely new. The breakthrough isn't coming, it's already here, softly unfolding in the decisions you dare to make today. You are not the person you were a year ago. Or even a month ago. Every insight you've gathered, every emotion you've processed, every time you chose to stay when things felt uncertain, it all prepared you for this very moment. And now, the only question that remains is, will you step forward as the version of yourself that life has been shaping all along? There's a kind of courage that doesn't shout. It doesn't need applause or validation. It's the quiet kind, the kind that whispers, I choose something better, even when fear is loud. And that kind of courage, Leo, is already alive inside you. That is the fire you've been carrying all along, even on the days you doubted its glow. You are not waiting on a miracle. You are becoming one, choice by choice, step by step. So I invite you now to pause just for a moment and ask yourself gently, what are 3 things I can do in the next 24 hours that align with the version of me I'm ready to become? They don't have to be massive. Maybe it's one honest conversation. Maybe it's cleaning a space that's felt stagnant. Maybe it's simply choosing to speak to yourself with kindness for the first time in weeks. Whatever it is, let it be real. Let it be yours. And then do it not for anyone else, but because your future is quietly waiting on the other side of those actions. If you want to take it one step deeper, look in the mirror tonight, yes, literally, and say out loud, I am the one who was chosen. My breakthrough is already on its way. You don't have to feel fully confident. You just have to be willing. Speak it, and watch how differently your energy begins to move. Watch how opportunities begin to notice you. Because the moment you claim it, the universe responds. Before we part ways today, let me take a moment to say thank you. Truly thank you for being here, for choosing to tune into your own energy, your own evolution. Every time you like a video, leave a comment, or subscribe to this channel, you're doing more than supporting content, you're building a soul-centered space for healing, transformation, and growth. You are helping eternal mindfulness become a lighthouse for everyone else navigating their own breakthrough. And for that, I am deeply grateful. So if this message touched you in any way, let it be known. Like this video, share it with someone who might need a spark, and subscribe so you don't miss what the universe sends next. But more than anything, I'd love for you to leave a comment below. Let the energy know you're ready. Just write, I'm ready for my destined breakthrough. Let the ripple begin. Let the shift anchor in your heart. The path ahead is bright, Leo, but only if you choose to walk it. And I believe you will.